Hello and welcome. You're watching the Thursday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavansan. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you tonight with two focused stories. One with regards to the new phase of the war that has been started by Israel. Israel says that it is the need of the hour to dismantle Hezbollah. In fact, as we speak, precision strikes are being carried out by Israel's Air Force. A short while back, these precision strikes were carried out at Lebanon's capital in Beirut. What does this essentially indicate, especially a year into the war? What is it that Israel is aiming at? Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we have two very special guests joining us from Israel. The other story, ladies and gentlemen, for the last several weeks put together, we have questioned Mohammed Yunus's government, questioned the fact that he has been unable to save the Hindus. Tonight, we're talking about an indigenous tribe in Bangladesh, the Chakmas, who have now come out in the open talking about the fact that how they too are now being targeted. The indigenous hill tribe in Bangladesh is now under threat. That's also the other focus tonight on This Is Exclusive. Let's now take a look at the headlines we're tracking at this hour. In a big statement, the Israeli foreign minister has rejected possible ceasefire plans in northern Israel. Israeli foreign minister vows action against Hezbollah. IDF has now claimed that 45 rockets have been launched into northern Israel. West Asia continues to be on the edge. Amid Muda scam heat on Siddaramaiah, Karnataka government withdraws consent for CBI probe. CBI to now seek a state nod to probe Karnataka Chief Minister. Facing ire for following Yogi's footsteps on eateries, Congress government in Himachal now says that they will review food order.
में 13 करोड़ लड्डू बिकते हैं। इसका मतलब है 100 रुपए भी लगा लो एक लड्डू का, 1300 करोड़ इनको हड़पना है। हिंदू सनातन मंदिरों का पैसा, हुंडी का पैसा हड़पना है।
BJP leader Madhavi Latha reaches Tirupati temple, says Jagan government looted Tirupati devotees. So what are the objectives behind this new front that has been opened by Israel? The fact that the Hezbollah in its charter has made it abundantly clear that eliminating Israel is the only target that they have. Why exactly is Israel essentially attempting what they attempted back in the year 2006, as well back in the 1980s? Ladies and gentlemen, with this new phase of war that has actually begun, what are the ramifications in the Middle East? Joining us tonight is Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus of the IDF. He's joining us live from Tel Aviv. Colonel Jonathan, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you, this is the question I asked the Israeli ambassador to India in a special interview to Republic TV with regards to the objective. Tonight I want to ask you, how far have you been able to achieve some of the objectives with which you announced that the new phase of the war has begun?
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me on the show. I think that Israel finds itself in a very complex situation, still fighting on 7 fronts simultaneously, Gaza being the first one, now the Lebanese front opening up and becoming even more complex and tense, as you correctly put it. But there are still incoming rockets and missiles from Iraq and Syria and Yemen. And of course, we're fighting Palestinian terrorist organizations in Judea and Samaria, what some people around the world still call the West Bank. And we're also fighting Iranian forces directly. All of this is happening simultaneously. And as such, Israel has made progress, I would say, in the goals of the war. The first goal is to dismantle Hamas's military capabilities in Gaza. The second goal is to dismantle their administrative and political abilities. And the third one is to bring
Colonel
back
Jonathan,
the hostages.
sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. Colonel, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to put the focus currently on the ongoing operation. The fact that you are trying to dismantle the military infrastructure of a terrorist group like Hezbollah, how much of that has been achieved? And how is it different from what you have done back in the year 2006?
Yeah, it's important, I think, for the viewers to understand the context. That's why I started with the bigger picture, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. And I'm sure that millions of people in India aren't following West Asia as closely as we are, and hence the context. Now, what's going on in Lebanon? I think so far, and I say this very carefully because we'll have to see if it stands the test of time. So far, the last 2 weeks of Israeli operations against Hezbollah have been very successful. I would say even more successful than I dared assess that they would be. Currently, Hezbollah's chain of command is severely damaged. Their ability to conduct command and control over their operations has been severely ruptured, not totally out, but ruptured. Their ability to fire long-range missiles at big quantities has been significantly degraded by Israel. And there are more and more casualties, senior operatives, as well as rank-and-file terrorists that have been taken out of commission by various Israeli operations. So if we were to do a artificial freeze of the situation now, lots of achievements for Israel, very few achievements for Hezbollah, but we all know that you count the money as you're walking down out in the stairs. You don't count it mid-play, and we are not out of the room yet. There's still a lot of fighting to do, but so far, significant progress during the last 2 weeks.
Colonel Jonathan, I want you to elaborate for all our viewers. You say a severe blow has been served to the military chain of command of the Hezbollah. Would you be able to define that for us as far as who are the top leadership of the Hezbollah who've been eliminated in the strikes that have been carried out over the last 48 hours?
Right. So essentially, Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, and 2 other senior officials are the only ones left in a group of about 20 senior commanders in Hezbollah. The rest have been eliminated by the IDF in targeted eliminations based on live, updated, and very accurate intelligence. They have been targeted and eliminated in various strikes in the heart of Hezbollah's operations in the so-called Dakhia area in Beirut, the Lebanese capital. And currently, there's a big void in terms of senior leadership of Hezbollah. Perhaps even more importantly, the senior leaders of the elite Radwan unit, which is Hezbollah's elite forces that are designed to invade into Israel, kill and capture Israelis, have all but been decimated by Israel. And you could see, based on the actions of Hezbollah on the ground, that it has a certain effect, and that Hezbollah, in terms of its tempo of operations and in terms of how slowly it is responding to Israeli activities, isn't really what we have expected of Hezbollah. And I think that they are reorganizing themselves, trying to survive one blow, and then a second one comes. But of course, we have to be very careful in thinking that this is done and over. Right. Hezbollah is a heavily entrenched organization in Lebanon, and of course, there's a lot of fighting still to be done.
One final question that I want to take from you, Colonel Jonathan, is with regards to what are the other objectives? As I understand, of course, you would only want a situation where the Hezbollah is no longer in a position to carry out the attacks that they were, pretty much like the way you've done with Hamas. But what are the major goals right now? Whose elimination would essentially satisfy the Israelis at this point in time vis-a-vis the Hezbollah?
Yeah, so no, it's not about eliminations. What really Israel is trying to do is to facilitate the safe return home of about 70,000 Israelis that have been forcibly displaced from their homes for more than 11 months due to Hezbollah's direct rocket and missile fire at Israeli communities in northern Israel. That is what Israel is trying to rectify, and Israel is trying to do that by applying military pressure on Hezbollah in order to get Hezbollah to agree to a ceasefire deal that will see Hezbollah forces move back beyond the border, away from Israeli civilians, and that Israeli civilians can return home. This isn't about defeating Hezbollah. This isn't about dismantling Hezbollah of all of its assets. This isn't about a total victory against Hezbollah. None of that, I think, is on the table. What Israel has is a very limited and I would say minimalistic goal of just allowing its own citizens to finally return to their homes after almost a year of displacement. We'll see how effective the steps taken will be, how Hezbollah is responding to the pressure, and how effective international diplomacy will be in trying to create this. I am, and I'll complete with this, I am skeptic about how effective the diplomatic pressure will be on Hezbollah, and I think that unfortunately the situation will deteriorate and we will find ourselves in more challenging situation, more fighting, and that Hezbollah isn't going to make the right decision between the future of Lebanon, which they can control, or to continue to do the dirty work of the Islamic Republic of Iran and to side with Hamas in Gaza.
Colonel Jonathan, I must ask you this question because this is what I'm picking up from my sources in Israel. In fact, I'm told that Israel has just targeted a short while back Ali Hussein Borji. He's the leader of the organization's the military operation. In fact, he was targeted in Darhi is what I'm picking up. Is there any confirmation? And for those who do not know, how perhaps some of the biggest leaders, some of the biggest operators of the Hezbollah have been attacked, have been eliminated in the recent precision strikes. Is there any confirmation that you can give with regards to this latest elimination that has taken place?
Yes, this strike occurred about 45 minutes ago in the heart of the Hezbollah neighborhood in southern Beirut, so-called Dahye. We're still waiting for final official confirmation that the target of the elimination was indeed eliminated. We're talking about his nickname is Abu Saleh, and he was, or maybe is, the commander of the aerial forces of Hezbollah. So basically the guy who designed and operated the UAVs and anything that Hezbollah had that flew in the air. And these are weapons that have been terrorizing Israeli civilians and creating challenges for the IDF for 11 and a half months. If he indeed has been taken out, then that is a positive step forward, again, based on live updated intelligence and on precision capabilities, where Israel has struck in the heart of Hezbollah's stronghold with, of course, ammunition delivered by the Israeli Air Force.
Well, thank you very much, Colonel Jonathan, for putting this into perspective and also giving us that big breaking news now coming in, that there are now reports coming in. Ali Hussein Borji, someone who has actually designed several of the operations of the Hezbollah, appears to have been eliminated just a short while back. Let's put that out on our grids also with regards to that big elimination that's taken place. Colonel Jonathan, I'm hoping that in the course of the next few days, you'll keep coming back to us. There are many here in India who want to find out what's really happening, particularly in West Asia. Let's now get you a ground report. Major Amit Derry, he's part of the reservist force. He's coming to us live from Golan Heights, not very far away from there. In fact, there were sirens that were sounded off a while back, but I'm told that there has been multiple reports coming in of the crossfire that continued. Major Ahmed Deri, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. First, let me ask you, what's the situation like on the ground?
Thank you for having me. So today, after almost 12 hours that was relatively quiet since the beginning of the operation or the war against Hezbollah, it was a few missiles, around 45 missiles, rockets that were shot from Lebanon to mostly to the western part of the north and not to where am I now, the Golan Heights. So relatively quiet. Most of the missiles, the rockets, were hit the sea, the Mediterranean, near the city of Akko and Haifa. So for now, it's relatively quiet.
With regards to what we have seen over the last few days, and particularly as Colonel Jonathan of the IDF was also pointing out, that there has been a large-scale displacement that has taken place in northern Israel. In fact, you've been reporting for us from there itself. Give us a sense of what's the situation like, and in the last few months, how things have actually aggravated.
So the towns, the cities, and the villages, the kibbutzim on the northern border, let's say the 5 kilometers from the border to the south, inside Israel, from the borders inside Israel, are all evacuated, and most of the residents are finding themselves in hotels more to the south. Some of them in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, and other places. Is around 100,000 people, families that were evacuated, and already 11 months. And you can imagine how hard it is to be a family that away from home for almost 12 months. I think exactly like Colonel Conricos said, one of the main goals of this operation, I'm not sure we can do it immediately. It will take time. Is to bring back home all these people that were evacuated from their house. And hopefully it will happen in the next few weeks, and that Hezbollah will take the ceasefire and will enable to bring back all these residents.
One final question that I want to take from you, Major Ahmed, is with regards to what we have seen in the past too. There was a buffer that was supposed to be created as far as the UN resolution goes. There has been a clear violation, as Israel points out. For a better understanding for many of our viewers who are tuning in right now, could you help us understand what was the kind of arrangement that was done? Hezbollah's existence was there for a very, very long time. But why is it that perhaps Israel has now been provoked to take this decision to open up yet another front?
Okay. First, we didn't open this front. This front was opened by Hezbollah almost 12 months ago, because they said they are going to shoot Israel in order to help or to assist the Gaza, to Hamas. And they said they will not stop to shoot on Israel, and they didn't stop in the last 12 months because of the war that we have with Hamas in Gaza. So the buffer zone and the the UN resolution about it is a buffer zone of a few kilometers to the north from the border with Israel inside Lebanon, that Hezbollah cannot be there. But they are terrorists and they are sophisticated, so they came to the border in the last almost since 2006, since the last war. They dressed with civilian clothes, and they violated the resolution. And they are there, and they're building their tunnels, and they put their missiles, and they put their arms very close to the border with Israel. So now, after Israel had the progress with the front with Gaza, so now we have the ability to make sure that also the northern border will be secure, and to make sure to push Hezbollah forces back to the north of the Litani River, which is something like 25 kilometers from the border with Israel. We want to push them to the north. They cannot be in the buffer zone and to endanger the villages and the cities of the northern Israel.
Well, thank you very much, Major Amit Deri, for putting this into perspective and helping us understand what's the situation like on the ground. We'll be coming back to you for more updates as the war rages on, hoping that there would be certainly an end game in the near future. Shift the focus, ladies and gentlemen, to the other story. We've been saying this for several weeks put together. This after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. The fact that minorities have been under threat. The fact that this has been brushed under the carpet by the caretaker government in Bangladesh. For Mohammed Yunus, perhaps this is not a cause of concern. The fact that minorities, over 200, have been attacked in the last several weeks. Durga Puja organizers who have come under threat. In fact, they've received threat letters. There are groups that are now demanding, particularly the radicals, demanding 5 lakh rupees from the Durga Puja organizers. And only after payment of that would they be in a position to carry out Durga Puja celebration. Despite all of that, you've had Mohammed Yunus's government essentially indicating that this is nothing but the figment of imagination of the Indian media. Ladies and gentlemen, all this while we've been reaching out to Hindus in Bangladesh, getting you their voices, yet you've had Mohammed Yunus and his advisors who are essentially indicating that this is a figment of imagination. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you another story. This is about the Chakma tribe. Remember, that's an indigenous tribe who are also present in India, particularly in the northeastern states of Tripura, Manipur and various other states, but also the indigenous tribe closer to Dhaka have been there for a very, very long time. In fact, their percentage of population has dwindled over a period of time. The Chakmas have been here in the national capital, and they have been demanding that the government basically takes some action because there have been reports of the tribes being attacked. Joining us on this broadcast is S. Karmakar. He's the spokesperson of Sanatani Adhikara Andolan. In a short while from now, Biren Chakma, the General Secretary of the Tribal Chakma Students Association, would also be joining us. Mr. S. Karmakar, let me take this question to you first. Is there any evidence of Chakmas being targeted in Bangladesh? I'm asking you this because time and again, the Bangladeshi says, where is the evidence?
Thanks for your question. I am a spokesperson of Sanatani Adhikar Andolan here. We have been actively protesting the communal violences that had been happening in Bangladesh over the last month. And as a result, we can see that the Chakma and other indigenous communities are not outside of these types of communal violences. And in the last week, we have seen that in Dighinala, which is a place in Chittagong, we have seen that people have been affected by communal violences, and they are indigenous people or ethnic minorities. Hindus are religious minorities, though they are not racial minorities, but they're religious minorities. But Chakma and other tribal people like Marma, Tripuras, are indigenous and ethnic minorities here, but recently they have also been targeted by the communal violences here. Yes, there are evidences. There are many footages of the, and you are showing one of them, I think.
Ms. Karmakar, I'll request you to stay on with us. I'll also go across to Biren Chakma. He's the General Secretary of the Tribal Chakma Students Association. Biren, I want to ask you, you've had the association here protesting in the national capital. I've asked Ms. Karmakar also about the evidence. The reason essentially being that this has been questioned time again. Biren, have you been able to speak to anyone in Bangladesh? Tell our viewers as to what's really happening there. Biren Chakma, the question that I was asking you is that were you in a position to speak to anyone from Bangladesh? Because as I understand, the Chakma tribe, they too have come under attack, particularly on the 19th and the 20th of September. Could you tell us what's really happening on the ground? I'm sorry, that's Anirudh Chakma. Anirudh, can you hear me? Anirudh, I believe you have muted yourself. Can you just unmute yourself?
Yes. Yes.
Anirudh,
So,
Anirudh, the question that I'm not sure whether you have heard my question.
please
Anirudh, go ahead. Please tell me.
repeat the question, okay, sir.
The
Repeat
question
the
that I was asking
question.
you, were you able to speak to anyone from Bangladesh, from the tribe, about what they have witnessed, what they are currently facing in Bangladesh?
Yes. Actually, let's say in Bangladesh, actually during the time of independent 1947, Chittagong is that 97.5% Buddhist majority, Buddhist and Hindu majority, but the Muslim fundamentalist daily trying to attack and try to convert the indigenous people, their land grabbing, and they are attacking, raping the Chakma and other indigenous tribe girls. Actually, main reason is Bangladesh government and East Pakistan government always trying to
Anirudh, can I just ask you this quick question? Anirudh, because I'm running short of time, I'm asking you, what's the situation now in Bangladesh? What's the situation pertaining to the Chakma tribe in Bangladesh?
Right now, Chakma tribe situation is very danger. Muslim settler, they are attacking the indigenous tribes of Buddhist monastery, and even what is happening, the Muslims settler, they are killing organizedly. Even the Bangladesh army helping the...
I'm sorry, I have to cut you short because I believe... Anirudh, I'm sorry, there is a problem with your audio line. We'll try and fix that and come back to you. But what I can understand from what you've just said is that the tribe that has basically come under attack, particularly from the radicals, and that's a major issue. S. Karmakar as well as Anirudh Chakma, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV and bringing us up to speed about what's really happening on the ground. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. On the other side, live and breaking.